Welcome to the Ninth Amendment Party, South Carolina chapter. All information is verifiable at United States Code, Code of Federal Regulations, Bouvier's dictionaries, Black Law dictionaries, Uniform Commercial Codes, and congressional records. You can reach us at info@ninthamendmentparty.com. Restoring the Republic, one county at a time. Intro to the hidden trust the government doesn't want you to know about, known as the Cestui QV Trust. Cestui QV Trust, Canon 1295. While the executors and administrators of societies under Roman law continue the unlawful practice of selling the live birth records of children as slave bonds, these bonds are never considered property placed into the original Cestui QV Trust, but a second Cestui QV Trust owned by the private Central Reserve Bank as part of the long-standing bankruptcy conditions dating back to 1933 and 1934. That's when the Securities Act was implemented. Canon 1296. In societies controlled by inferior law, when a man or woman physically dies without ever having dissolved their Cestui QV trust, the property of the temporary testamentary trust is conveyed into a permanent testamentary trust and a formal death certificate is issued, usually then sold by the executors and administrators as a security on account of the valuable certificate of share of the high estate within it. Canon 1298. Failure to disclose or admit upon request the existence of a Cestui QV trust instead of the beneficiary relationship to an estate constitutes a fundamental breach of duties of any administrator or executor of the estate and most serious fraud requiring their immediate removal and punishment. Canon 1299. Any administrator or executor who fails to fully disclose an existing Cestui QV relationship in the likeness or name of a person being offered a benefit before them constitutes a fundamental fraud and a grave breach of duties under all competent forms of trust law, requiring immediate suspension of any offer or benefit, dismissal of the disgraced official, and their punishment. The Federal Reserve, modern day money mechanics, deposits created ex nihilo, basically money created out of nothing. Gold is money. Everything else is credit. J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan has a long history with the elite in controlling and maintaining control over the population. Most don't realize that J.P. Morgan owned the majority of copper mines during the very beginning of the electrical invention, from lights to wiring your entire home or city. J.P. Morgan would have lost tremendously and would have went bankrupt if they did not place a hold on Nikola Tesla's inventions. J.P. Morgan is one of the early individuals who bought out all the rights to the major newspapers in the United States of America. So he may be able to conduct propaganda to help the elite. This is who J.P. Morgan was. The bank, public belief. Banks lend deposits. Central banks lend funds or government money. Reality, banks created a credit out of thin air. And when you sign your security, you just created the money. Richard Werner's views on bankings argues that banks create money through the process of lending. He suggests that when banks issue loans, they simultaneously create deposits on their balance sheets. This means that the act of lending is directly linked to the creation of money, which challenges traditional views of banking. Perspective aligns with the credit creation theory, which posts that banks can create money out of thin air by simply lending. This theory contrasts with the financial intermediation theory, which views banks as intermediaries that borrow from depositors to lend to borrowers. Werner believes that banks do not merely act as intermediaries, but are actively creators of money. Constraints on money creation. Despite the ability to create deposits, banks face constraints. They must maintain solvency and have access to liquid reserves. If a customer's doubt a bank's ability to manage its assets or reserves, it can undermine the trust necessary for the bank's operations. Conclusion. Warner's work emphasizes that banks play a crucial role in money creation, fundamentally altering the understanding of how money functions in the economy. His approach aims to clarify the mechanisms behind deposit creation and the implications for financial regulation. Who is responsible for the United States debt? Like monopoly, all money and assets on the board are artificial. The body corporate plays the game. Your corporate name, your name in all capital letters, as defined. All letters of the English alphabet only include uppercase letters. There is no distinction between typeface or font that will be recognized. Your true name in upper and lower case creates a signature, which creates the fuel to create the credit known as money today. In the aftermath of 1933 bankruptcy, the federal government needed a mechanism to extend its new credit system into every household. That mechanism was the Social Security Act of 1935. Sold as a program of benevolence, a safety net for the elderly, the disabled, and the unemployed. It was, in truth, the next stage of the pledge. Social Security created a national system of accounts, one for every man, woman, and child. With it, the people themselves became living collateral for the public debt. Was you aware that you are the collateral for public debt? Each account was issued a Social Security number. This number was not a token of care, but a registration of surety. The all capital name, already pledged to the birth certificate, was now tracked through a federal trust account. From cradle to grave, the individual would labor, earn wages, and pay into the system. Those wages were not contributions to a fund waiting for retirement. They were streams of credit used to finance the ongoing obligations of the bankrupt state. The birth certificate itself became the foundational bond, issued by state vital records offices and registered with the Department of Commerce. Each certificate was a warehouse receipt for a newly created person. Remember, under U.S. codes, person is a corporation. The all-cap name in all capital letters was the commercial entity. The living child was the beneficiary. But under the 14th Amendment framework, the state acted as a trustee, holding title to the name and its future energy. Banks and government agencies treated the certificate as a negotiable instrument. Through the Cestui trust system, the name, in all capital letters, was linked to the accounts on the books of the Treasury and Federal Reserve, which is not part of the United States of America. It is a separate commercial entity overseeing credit debit in our nation. This was not disclosed to the people. Instead, they were led to believe that the certificate was merely a record of birth. In truth, it was a document that converted their living estate, in other words, you, the living, breathing man or woman, son or daughter, created by God, into a commercial estate and also into collateral for the commercial government, local, city, county, state, and federal agencies. Under 12 CFR, Section 9.2, take the time and look into these areas: a trust representative office, a fiduciary account, applicable law, and investment discretion. Again, take the time under 12 CFR Section 9.2. This concludes our class today on the Cestui QV Trust, money and banks. We say this humbly: come and join our movement of restoring we the people's unalienable rights. NinthAmendmentParty.com, on the land for the United States of America.